Hello, friends.
Howdy,
Hello, Mars.
friends. Howdy.
Welcome officially to the John's Comics with Kids YouTube channel.
Oh my God, I just realized I've never actually been on this channel. I've only ever been on Comic Glories.
Well, that counts, right?
That counts.
I was hosting, I would assume.
That counts. But was that a separate channel or is it the same
No, I think it
channel?
was mine. No, it should have been here.
Okay, then it's just been a while. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
I'm back.
Welcome to this very special event where we're all going to be hopefully riding an emotional roller coaster and having some fun talking comics, talking friends, talking community. Memories for sure. For those that don't know, this is a community remembrance stream. We're going to have a couple of hours here together, maybe longer if we knowing how verbose Mars and I can be. We're going to be remembering Jenn. We're going to be bringing in a ton of great community members, having them sharing books, thinking back through memories of times with Jenn, streams they shared with Jenn. And there's a bunch of great links down below. I tried to find a lot of playlists that people had on their channel that included videos with Jenn. I went and found, obviously, all the Casually Comics
and listen,
streams.
that's a huge feat because that girl got around. She would schedule like 2-3 shows a day, and it's like, did you remember to drink your water today? Did you get a chance to use the potty today? Like, what's going on?
I also have a bunch of streams that she did with Sean and Will over on the Will to Beast channel, where they were doing comic book reviews over there. And then I've got some stuff from her with Comic Chop News Dan and videos that they did. They did creator interviews. They did indie comic breakdowns. So there's a ton of videos
Lots
in there
with
Dan. Yes. And then the Dune over. There's a whole playlist for her and Dan's discussions around the books, the novels, not the movies so much, the novels by Frank Herbert for Dune. I also have at the very bottom the 2 links for Jenn's LCS. So if you are looking to just connect greater to this greater comic community and support a comic shop in Jenn's memory, obviously Books with Pictures is the place to go. I visited when I was there, and it was one of the best comic shops ever.
It is. It's one of, like, she always talked about, like, Books with Pictures. Like, we eat good here in Portland when it comes to our comics. And I'm like, okay, like, don't get, like, we got some good comic shops here too. Like, probably not as good as Portland, but come on. But when I went out there in November, I was like, oh no, because you got Cosmic Monkey, but like Books with Pictures, period, is like,
yeah.
I was telling Katie, who's the owner, like, this is the comic shop I wish I had found when I first started reading comics. It is so
100%.
welcoming, so inviting. The staff is wonderful. So, and I believe that they do online sales. So if you want to support a local shop in memory of Jenn, because we're going to be talking a lot about books in her memory today, if you feel like you want to pick up any of these books, please either support Books with Pictures or just support your local LCS. That was a big thing that Jenn was adamant on. She did not want you shopping at Amazon because these big box stores are going to be around forever, but your local comic shop store might not. So please, if you want to do anything in memory of Jenn after this, support your local comic book shop.
And they have a Books with Pictures. Katie has an online website, and I have that link. And then I have their Instagram link as well, so you can find them through social media if you prefer.
John's on top of it today.
Down there. Yes. Well, trying to feel useful here, Mars. So yeah, lots of friends joining us. I'm going to say hello to the chat first. Mars is going to help us say hi to friends.
You got to say hi to the chat because, as you know, that was Jenn's favorite thing. So DJ Wise, hello.
We had tailgaters in here very early.
God, how did she do this with these usernames? I'm already struggling here. If I pronounce, there you go. I'm just going to give all the hard names to John. Hello from New Mexico. Hi from Delaware and California.
We got Ruben Guzman. He's the White Tiger.
Oh, Cowabunga White Tiger. Hi, howdy.
Here's an easy
Brian LCS. Hey. We got some new friends and we got some old friends, so I'm very excited. Marvel by the Month,
we have a guest.
Favorites.
He's going to be on later.
He will be. Brian, we love you. I hope that's Brian behind the screen. I'm not saying hi to the other guys there. And Japan Comics, greetings. Hi.
Another fellow indie comic fan, Kevin, is a big fan and a big LCS supporter as well.
We got Bleecker Street Comics. Hi, thanks for joining us. Comic book G-Man, you changed from G-Spot?
He did.
What you're G-Spot today in memory of Jennifer.
He's even harder to find now.
Cliff on Comics. Hello.
Cliff is an awesome community member, and he's gonna. Cliff, there's definitely some books in here you're gonna need to add to your hunt list for sure, my guy.
Listen, I'm not controlling this stuff. John's doing that for me, but I just got to do a little Jennifer. Here's for Hire Comic Club. Hello, thank you for coming in. Even if you didn't know her personally, it just means a lot that you're here because she touched a lot of lives, a lot of different ways. So thank you for being here. Carrie, our friend over at Officially Unofficial Geek, who will also be here today. Thank you for being here.
And this is you.
It is me. It is me. It's like an abandoned graveyard, but that's me.
We got Greg.
We got Greg in the house.
What's going on, Greg? The guy who was willing to put me up on very short notice in Portland. We got Scott.
And he'll be here today too, I believe.
Yes, he will. You better believe it. Christina, one of my favorite moderators, she's dropped your link right off the bat. So people can click over to your link.
Thank you. It's a graveyard, but thank you. It'll be back maybe one day. We'll see. TikTok's dying, so maybe I have to go to YouTube. Right. Brother John Comics. Hello. Bizarro Fat. Hey.
And Brian reminding us, give books with pictures all the money.
100%. Listen.
The dumb bitch money.
The dumb bitch money. Listen, not to go off on a tangent, but when I was out with Book with Pictures and Jenn saw it, I would go up to the counter with a stack of books. It's like, okay, I don't care how much it is, just do it. I'd put them in my bag and then I'd come back with another stack of books and be like, okay, I don't care. There were 3 different instances where I went up to the counter at Books with Pictures. And the worst part of this all was I had to take it all home in my carry-on because I refused to ship them because I wanted them immediately when I got home.
I kept telling Scott, like, I might get to the point where I'm just going to have you ship these things to me and bill me.
It's dangerous.
I was, in the end, I was good. I did well. Hold on. What do we got next? We got, my little remote. Here we go. Sticky, Super Stick Boy.
Collector P, howdy.
And let's see, doodaloo.
Azorus Tiger, hello. I'm sorry, I'm not carrying the same energy. I feel like she was so much more better at this than I was. I was always just the awkward kid in the corner, like, hi.
Yeah, you just, you carried your own, hey, hashtag hear me out.
I didn't even notice you were wearing the hashtag hear me out shirt. Listen,
I had to. We're
gonna have a lot of that today. I feel like
I'm expecting nothing less. And one of our favorite friends in the chat,
Melanin and Manga, Sheena and Ninja, we love you. Thank you so much for being here.
And Christina's dropped that link for Books and Pictures, their official website where you can order comics and buy and shop and all that.
Do it. Stuff. Spend all of your money.
I don't think you know this guy.
No, I don't know him. He's just hanging out in my living room for some reason. I don't know him.
He's listening by the door. He's got a little glass.
For sure.
Another guest who will be on momentarily.
Fire Guy Ryan.
Good to see you, sir. And we got Tim, another friend who's going to be on later.
Talking nerdy.
I'm going to try this one. Wilmfriddle's Oddities.
That was very cordial, sir. Very fancy.
It's all the gesture. Ooh, working with you at Apple was a joy. Missing you dearly. Wow, that's fantastic.
Thank you so much for being here.
I love that. Oh, Flower says hi. Oh, my puppy. Such a sweet dog. And hi, Aubrey. And hello. Humans.
Humans.
What's up, Simone? Had the honor of seeing Jenn just before she passed and taking her a Storm comic. I promised Aurora was waiting on the goddess side to fly her around.
I love that.
Okay. Simone, don't hit me this hard this early, okay? I gotta get through 2 hours still. My friend Alec. What's going on, Alec? Let's see. Josh Merritt.
We got Josh. Thank you for being here.
And another great friend in our community, Chris.
Comics.
Huge thank you, Chris. Alex says she represented the best of us. Truly gone too soon.
100%. Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, wrap it up. We're going home.
Yeah, I know. Whew. Okay. So the goal of tonight is
not to cry.
Yeah.
JK. We're all going to cry.
KIT, keep it together. But also I felt strongly that she would want something that highlighted books, that celebrated comics and her joy of this hobby and this medium. And you can see that in any video she ever appeared in. So I asked all the people that came on with us today to at least have some book to want to discuss. They don't necessarily have to hold it up, but something that they wanted to discuss. Did you? Here's the beauty of Mars. There's so many things I love about Mars. The beauty of Mars is she came to me this morning and said, I kind of want to bring on stuff that she hated too. I kind of wanted to have both sides of Jenn. The hilarity of the conversations with Jenn were always this mix match, right? This wonderful cornucopia of, I love this book, I hate this book, oh my God.
So hashtag hear me out. That's our first one for the day. Because you came to the group or came to the community and said, talk about books that were important to your relationship with Jenn. And there are several books that people are bringing today that I wanted to talk about, but first of all, they got to them first before me. That's fine. But here's my thing is I'm never going to tell somebody that they can't talk about a specific book that was special to their relationship with Jennifer, because my relationship with Jennifer, every single comic book was special. There was not a single comic book that I read where I wasn't immediately calling her about it. I wasn't immediately FaceTiming her about it and just like screaming from the top of my lungs about something that happened, or screaming about, please read this book, or please don't read this book, or what are your thoughts on this book? So to me, all comics are special. You could probably hold up anything and I'll find some correlation between my relationship with Jennifer.
I mean, Scott's already talking for you. He's saying 100 bullets as Brian has he's leading you.
Yeah, we're not gonna go there yet. It's too early for that. But like the other thing too is like, would it really be a tribute to Jennifer without violence? So Casually Comics, the show that me and Jennifer did every Sunday, we read so many books. John, we read so many books, and it got to a point where we were reading so many books that it's like, I don't even want to read books anymore because there's too many. And but we felt like we had to, because especially with those indie books, not enough people were talking about them. We wanted to give them, light.
Ongoing, for sure. It's an ongoing problem.
But sometimes the indie books were not some of the greatest. So I bought here today a little stacky of books that I call Jennifer's greatest hits, of books that she loved so much.
I love it.
That she hated them. And the first one I want to talk about, I don't even have a physical copy of, because I think we both hated it so much we immediately just kicked it from the collection. So, and it's funny because I literally found a box of comics in my parents' house of just all the books that we had bought, that like I just shoved them into a box because I didn't care about them anymore. And I was like, oh my God, look how many. What's the opposite of a banger? A bonger? Like there were so many of them in the box. I was like, all right, we got to talk about them. So the first book I want to talk about is a little book from Image Comics. It's done by David Boer and Zoe Thorogood, of all people. And that is Rain. And Rain was an adaptation of a Joe Hill book that was gay, but it wasn't gay because it just was bad. It was cruel. They put gay people together.
I love David Boer. I love David Boer. I love Zoe Thorogood. He's a phenomenal writer. And Canto is a phenomenal series that he did.
Killer Queens is phenomenal.
Killer Queens. Yeah, he's done some Ghostbusters recently. He's really talented. But this was not it.
I'm not even going to blame them, because I'm going to blame the source material that they had to adapt it from. So Joe Hill, Joe Chill, whatever. No, that's the Batman guy. Joe Hill. It was a bad book. So Rain, that's my first one. Now, talking about the books I actually have copies of. I have Freak Snow here from
Freak Snow. Okay.
Exactly. Like, what is that even like? Who's heard of this book besides me and Jennifer? It was originally published by Behemoth. I don't even remember this book. I just remember us being like, this book is so ugly that we couldn't even focus on what was going on. And I'm like, hear me out. Art is completely subjective. I get it. Art is subjective, but this was not it. We both hated this.
There you go.
Another book is Cult of Dracula, which actually has a very similar premise in terms of this book was so ugly. And
Greg still has his freaks now.
We were so excited about Cult of Dracula because look at this. You see beautiful ladies. It's a cult of Dracula.
Vampires,
potential lesbians, potential sexiness. But then the book was just cops and churches and no cults, no vampires. And this is probably the book that we were the most disappointed in our entire life. So
Cult of Dracula. Make it gay, you cowards.
Make it gay, you cowards. And this was by Source Point Press.
Okay.
No, I want to save that one to last. Okay. You Promised Me Darkness.
Yes.
From Behemoth. And this was one of those books that like the community hyped up. Everybody was talking about this book.
Okay.
People were rushing out to get it. They loved it. Me and Jennifer read it and we're like, we don't understand it. Why are people hyping this book up? And there's a word in this book. I don't remember what it is, but it happens. I'm trying to find it because yikes. They use the word yikes in this book like 40 times. Now, granted, floppy comics are only like 34 to 35 pages, but yet they use the word like yike like 45 times in the span of 37 pages or whatever. Yikes.
That was just issue 1.
That was just issue 1. We never got past issue 1. Now this book
says this was always my favorite part of these shows.
Stuff Jenn and Mars hates. Yes. So this book is very special to me. And that's Casual Fling from AWA Upshot.
Ooh,
we were both really excited about this book because if you know me and Jennifer, we were big preachers that comics needed to be sexier. You know, we needed comics to be sexier. And something like Casual Fling, it screamed sexy. It was about a casual fling. And then you realize that the writer just hates women. But what I loved about this book is, well, I dropped off on issue 1. I was like, I can't do it anymore, Jen. I can't do it. I'm so sad. Please send help. This girl continued to read this up until its completion of like issue 5. And every month she would come back to me and on our channel when we did our Sunday shows would like reiterate what happened and would like read Casual Fling to me every Sunday. So that to me is just really special. And I feel like now maybe I should just read the whole thing, but
there's joy in the hate.
There's joy in the hate. But like that's what made our relationship so great was like we could come together on the books we loved, we could come together on the books that we hated. And you know, like I said, it would not be the Casually Comics duo without violence. Without violence.
Well said.
What did you bring to the table, John?
Well, I have a series that I will always connect to Jenn just because she championed it a lot, and definitely this make it gay, you cowards. This qualifies.
I was going to say, from what you said, I can't even guess which book
I bought it.
Would be.
Not only
it
did
just
I
sounds
buy
like
this,
every Jennifer book.
Yeah, I'm not being specific enough. Not only did I buy an omnibus based on her recommendation, but then it was so good, the story, I've bought since so many other things in reference to that woman. J.H. Williams's artwork will always remind me of Jenn. This, Elegy, the original story from Detective Comics, is phenomenal. I've since gone and gotten every single issue in floppy form. I've gotten her first appearance slabbed. I had to get an action figure. I even have an action figure. This character and Jenn are completely interlinked in my memory now.
And what about that woman do you love?
What's that?
What about Batwoman do you love, other than her connection to Jennifer?
There's obviously at the core of it a father-daughter storyline that I find absolutely captivating.
And that's interesting to hear because it's somebody who also loves the character. And I also really connect to that father-daughter storyline. I
Of
feel like it's
course.
for other reasons because you are a dad. I'm
Sure.
not.
I'm a
So I
girl
think that
dad,
that's
so it
really
like
interesting to hear.
and I love the way it highlights like a positive view of the people who work in the military. I think her dad and her have a very different experience in the military, but they both have a lot of passion for people who risk their lives in that manner, and I think it's portrayed in a really honest kind of way.
And I
I
love
think
that.
it also gives a different take on Gotham City, which I really thought was interesting. It reminded me a lot of Gotham Central, which is another great
Yes.
series that I love, and I know that Jen really enjoyed. And then of course J.H. Williams, I had very little connection to his work, and now it's like the everything. It's so
It's so
flipping good.
unique to comics because it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like standard comic storytelling. If anything, it feels like,
Right.
if anything, it feels very much like fairy tale storybook storytelling, like the types of books you would read as a kid, where you just get so lost in the magic and the wonder of it. But it also wraps itself around something so familiar for a comic reader, because I feel like if you're
Right.
a comic reader, you're most of us are familiar with Gotham as a set
Mhm.
piece. But like you said, J.H. Williams, it kind of shows you a different side of the city that we're not used to seeing.
Absolutely. And then of course the panel layouts are just so
Yes.
original and rule breaking and groundbreaking and fascinating for me. I was obsessed. Um,
Yes.
we have our first guest backstage, and we're running 3 minutes late, but definitely within the realm of normal for my channel. I will say this gentleman has been an incredible friend to me, and the connection that he and I have goes back to when he basically helped me launch my channel, and then the ways in which he has been a support system for Jen has been I've been incredibly grateful to have that lifeline and connection to her through him. It's the one and only. It's Mr. Bueller, the coffee man himself, Travis.
Hi, viewer.
Hello to you both. John already knows this, but I'm kind of out in the middle of nowhere and my internet is not the best. So if I'm a little blocky or kind of cut in and out, my apologies ahead of time. But I'm honored to have you guys or be on here with you guys. I just want to say real fast, I'm a very lucky individual because I've got to meet both of you guys in person, and I got to meet both of you when you guys got to meet Jen in person for the first time.
Yeah.
And so I take that that's very special to me to be able to see. I saw Jen's reaction when she saw John, okay, for the first time. Okay. I saw her with you at the comic shop. I know you'd been in town for a couple of days, but
Hmm.
just to be able to see, you guys together in person, was very special to me to be a part of that. And the few days that John was here was, amazing. I had met John before, so I knew what to expect, and it was it
You
was
were already prepped and ready.
typical John stuff. Mars, just you and me and Jen just kind of hanging out, eating outside of that
Eating
comic shop.
soup at
Yeah,
the
just
truck.
kind of, and, that's the moment that is very special. I know it was very special to Jen, having all of us there and having you in town. She was just lit up. So I just want to tell you guys how much it meant to me to be able to be there with you guys when you guys were with Jen, because over the years I spent a lot of time with Jen. We were friends. We met each other, 5 years ago, and stuff. And so being able to see you guys meet her in person and to kind of be in her essence, and I know you guys already felt something for her, but being with her is a whole nother thing to appreciate. So I just want to say thank you for you guys letting me be involved with that as
Of
well.
course.
It meant a lot to have you there, to know that there were certain members in our community, and we'll see several of them this evening, who were supporting her, in so many different ways, and being a voice for those of us who couldn't be there with her, and being that shoulder or that hug for us when we couldn't be it. And I know it was a burden to carry. It was a weight to carry. And I appreciate that you were able to do that for us all.
Well said, John. You couldn't have said it better.
And I do want to say, because I know that sometimes I kind of, because of my role in the YouTube world, my face kind of gets front and center for something like this. But I want everyone to know, Jenn had a tremendous support system behind the scenes that maybe a lot of people aren't familiar with. I know both of you got a chance to meet them, but those people were there for her 24/7. And I know a lot of people aren't aware of them, and I don't know how much they want to be involved in the public eye. But man, the support system that she had behind the scenes, that was, people loved her, okay, and would go out of their way to kind of make sure she was good. And to them, to that support system that she has, and I've made friends with them over the years, man, I just want to, thank them so much for being there for her from start to finish.
It's definitely early for one of them, but they're backstage if you want to say hi. I got Brian right here. I mean, he was ready, because when you say the support system, that's the face.
So Brian and his wife Sarah were literally Jenn's. I mean, she had several lifelines. I'm not gonna try to say that there weren't so many people around for her, but the work that Brian and Sarah did for Jennifer on, like Bueller said, a 24-hour basis, helping her with daily needs, making sure that she was okay, taking her to doctor's appointments, keeping people that she loved that were not in Portland in the loop with everything, and being there until the very end. It was a very private thing, but I want to make sure that people understand that these were I told you earlier, Brian, you guys were like her heroes. Well,
she made it really easy to want to do all that. Thank you very much for saying all that. It's Rob and Jamie, my co-hosts on Marvel by the Month, also were tremendously supportive. And I also really want to give a shout out to Jenn's longtime friend and former partner, Josh. Was so helpful behind the scenes in ways that I don't think we fully appreciated until we were well into this. And Josh's girlfriend, So Chill, was also super, super supportive. Yeah. We had a great team. It was a small team, but everyone really came together for that girl. So
she was loved 100%. That girl was loved by so many.
Very much.
She seemed to draw that out of a lot of people. That compassion, that joy for comics, for friends, for socializing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Bueller, I know I don't want your internet to die out on you. You only got about 10 more minutes on the clock here. Do you want to talk about the book that you wanted to mention?
Sure. So the book I wanted to mention, I haven't read it, by the way, because I don't do that anymore. But this was Jenn's Grail. This was the one she wanted. This is a House of Secrets, I believe 92, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Which is the first appearance of Swamp Thing. And the reason I'm bringing this to effect is because this is the book that Jenn always wanted. And I was with her when she got it at Rose City Comic Con.
Yeah.
And I remember being there, and I ran into her. And it was right at the very beginning of the con. And she's like, I already spent my money. I already bought what I wanted.
I'm so glad that you were with her, because I got the phone call at 10 in the morning being like, Mars, I want to do something really, really stupid. And for Jenn, that was a regular occurrence. It was like, okay, on a level of 1 to 10, how stupid are we talking? And it was, I want to buy House of Secrets number 92. And it's like, I can't tell you no. Why are you coming to me asking me for permission? You know I'm going to say do it.
Jennifer had a habit of only reaching out to people who she knew were not going to stop.
We're people who were going to explore.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
There's so many people,
that book
people
was,
in the chat.
Like very fun, and she was all for it and stuff, and she was so happy and kind of excited and kind of nervous carrying it around. And I believe her boyfriend was with her at the time, if I'm not mistaken. I think this was really early on when her and I actually met each other in person when she got this, or maybe it was a little bit after. I don't know for sure, but I just could tell the joy that she had for, getting this and finally checking it off her bucket list, and then it was like Friday at noon, when the con just started, she already spent all her money. Like,
it was that one tangible book. Because she would have loved to have like X-Men #4 and X-Men #1, but it was that one realistic book that's like, okay, I can physically get my hands on this, that she wanted so badly.
Alex said earlier, yeah, she was the only other one who found Swamp Thing attractive. I mean, the only one. I mean, other one who said the other one? Who's the other one? Yeah, she liked her monsters.
Yeah, I can remember when Jenn and I had a few conversations about her, like, it's like, hey, I might have to start selling my collection off and stuff like that, to help with medical bills or whatever was coming her way. We actually never really got to that point to where we sold off any of her collection because of all you wonderful people watching reached out to her, and there's a lot of people behind the scenes that donated large chunks of money to help Jenn, and you guys know who you are, and you guys did it privately, but if you're watching, you know who you are, and I know who you are, and I want to say thank you to those people. So we never got to the point to where we were going to sell any of her collection. We were going to do some auctions. The first thing I said to her, do not sell your first appearance of Swamp Thing.
Swampy, yeah, absolutely not.
She's like, I'm never fucking selling that book. Hell no. But I make sure you don't, and stuff. We'll make sure everything is okay as far as money wise and stuff. And but that book just really meant a lot to her. And looking back and knowing that I was there when she got it, and just to kind of see her get her Grail, was just something kind of special when you look back and I've over the last month or so, or a few weeks or so, I've kind of I know this is about the books, but kind of looking back on my relationship with Jenn and who she was to me, she was the person to where I could talk about anything with, and not having that anymore really hurts.
I've talked to a couple people about that, Bueller. It's almost like a lifeline has been cut.
Yeah, because
it's hard.
I could talk to her. We could talk to each other about anything. I mean, there was nothing off limits that we had conversations about. And there's very few people in your life to where you don't have any boundaries, or limitations to where you might feel uncomfortable. Her and I were totally comfortable with each other and had some very interesting conversations over the years. So nice to be able to, discuss things and kind of go there. And I really miss that, and, especially when I'm out traveling and kind of on my own and, in the middle of nowhere. And, a lot of times she would be someone I could call at like 2:00 in the morning and just have a conversation, or I'd see her online and, just start messaging her and stuff, and she knew she could call me anytime and vice versa. And so I really do miss that aspect of her not being around. And
you're not the only one I've heard that from.
Yeah,
absolutely true.
I have a lot of great memories with her. Obviously, when she would guest on the Coffee and Comics show, and we just sit there and like, okay, we're gonna do the was it good segment and stuff. And like we would just like really like lean into it. She'd be like, Bueller, was it good? And you know, I mean, we're just hamming it up, you know, and we just really enjoyed just kind of going that route, you know, and just kind of being perverts, as we used to call each other all the time. And she was my pervert, and I was her pervert, and that was kind of and
which we all need.
Just a lot of memories. A lot of, you know, comic books are what brought us together. You know, comic books are what brought, you know, me and John together, and John's one of my really close friends, and it's Mars and you guys as well. You know, I mean, Jenn brought us together, but it's because of comic books, you know, was the foundation of it and stuff. So, you know, it's really a wonderful time that we've had her in our life. It got cut short, and but just, you know, I can't think of anything negative. You know, it was all positive. It was always just like a smile on our face, and just had a great time, and, you know, we got to talk about whatever, you know, came across our minds, perverted stuff and all, you know. And
no, she was very enthusiastic.
Yeah, you know, she's like, you know, can we go to the strip club? I'm like, sure. You know, I mean, everyone, okay. She's like, this is what she says: Mars is coming to town. Can we go to the strip club, please? And I'm like, okay.
That's something I wish we had gotten to do that, because we were talking, and that was one of the things where it's like, I would love to do that with you, but I know you're not up to your best. And she brought it up, and I was like, can we please, can we?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And just like the other day, I think it was last Friday, there was a wrestling event in Portland, and a SmackDown was last Friday night in Portland. And I remember we were talking before. It's like, hey, you know, are you gonna be here? You know, during that time, we should all go together to the wrestling thing. And I never got a chance to go with her, but that's something that she wanted to go and do and see and stuff, because she kind of found wrestling over the past year and stuff, which is just fucking awesome, by the way. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
How cool can you get? You just keep on checking off the boxes as time goes on. You know? So, I mean, you know, it was neat. But just watching that event, you know, I was watching on TV, and I'm looking on there, and like, you know, I go, oh, is that Joshua Williamson sitting in the front row? And so he's sitting in the front row, you know, and I'm like, we were supposed to be there. You know, that was, you know, and a bunch of us were supposed to be there, and unfortunately, we didn't get the opportunity to do so. So, but there's little things like that remind me of her all the time. But I just want John and Mars, thank you both for kind of doing this and stuff, you know, and for people who are watching.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I do appreciate it, and thank you so much. And but like, for the people that are watching, if you didn't know Jenn, you missed out. If you did know, you knew what we're talking about. So,
thanks, Bueller. I appreciate you, Travis, a bunch, man.
All right, have a good show. I will see you guys all soon.
Yes, you will, sir.
All right, bye, guys.
Right. Be safe. Brian, obviously, I'm gonna throw it at you. Oh my God. I'm gonna blame you for the wrestling joy that she had, because I know you took her to events. I think there's a lot of blame to be thrown your way when it comes to this new fad that she found. You were really connecting her to stuff.
I gotta share this with Scott, also in the chat, who was
well, he'll be on momentarily too, so you can get him in.
Yeah. So he gets a lot of this, but it's funny, you know, a lot of you know, Jenn's days toward the end, you know, the last 6 months or so, like, she spent a lot of time in bed. Like, she couldn't really do a lot. And the great thing about wrestling is there's thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of it. So if you want to dive into something, and she was able to watch it all day long, and just have it on in the background. And so
I remember the day she texted me and was like, I have a new obsession. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh dear God, what is it now? And she's like, it's wrestling. And I was like, so like the female wrestlers, like Rhea Ripley, like that's what we're talking about, right? Because that's the only type of wrestling I'm
Apparently
into. Scott
Scott's
gets
taking
it.
credit for that.
Yep.
Thank you for that, Scott. And she's like, I mean, yes, but I love all of wrestling. And she would like send me her favorites. And it was just fascinating because when we met, she was already like neck deep in comics.
Yeah.
So to watch her fall in love with a totally new medium it was a beautiful thing. It really was.
Yeah. It was the Florida girl coming out.
I love that. Now, I've got 2 more guests to bring on. Brian, did you guys just want to hang out and just be on the show with us for the remainder? I don't want to, if you guys are uncomfortable,
we got faces made for podcasts, so you can go ahead and turn us off now. We'll pop in later.
All right, I'll bring you guys back on a bit.
All right.
We got 2 homies who've been on this channel a ton, and one who I was just talking fairy smut with last Saturday. A good time to be had with the bearded comic bro. What's going on, Greg?
Hey, friends. How's it going?
Good to see you, my friend.
I'm excited. First, just like Mars, this is my first time on your channel, John. So I'm excited.
Very familiar to folks here, but a homie I haven't been able to sit and chat with for a long hot minute. Another bearded bestie. We're gonna surround Mars with all the bearded besties. I got Fire Guy Ryan.
More bearded besties.
That's all I'm good for.
Oh, beards and comics.
Gentlemen, you guys, I reached out to a mutual friend, Sean DePault, whose son was Wildebeest, and had you both on a lot of streams with Jenn talking comics. And when I reconnected with him, he sent me a really sweet message about Will, and how, obviously Will is, he's out of his teenage years, he's into his bodybuilding years, and he's potentially teaching. He's like getting into a whole new phase in his life. But Sean had some really nice things to say. He's not going to be able to make it today, but he said she was truly a great person, and I always told everyone, the best comic book reviewer around.
Yeah.
She was always great to Will, always willing to help him, reached out to him for the very first time, and they introduced him to so much of the community. Really, the impact that sounds like she had on Will was massive. And it just was very sweet the way he says that obviously he and Will are feeling a lot of sadness about her loss. But for anybody wanting to see some of those streams, there's a playlist down below. You can go and watch all of those. I just was going to give you guys a chance to obviously share some books and talk a little bit about some of the shows and interactions you've had with Jenn. So, Ryan, I'll go to you first. If there's a book you want to share that you want to bring up.
Sure. This one's pretty recent. No, it's okay. It's all good. I don't have a lot of experience in this realm of life, but
don't be a coward, Ryan. Pick the right book. You know what book to bring for Jennifer.
Dude, while you guys were having your books we hate discussion a little bit ago, I don't even know if I still have it. No, I do. It's out there. I'm not gonna get it.
Is it
Deep Beyond?
Yes,
the book
I
Greg's
knew
talking
you were
about.
gonna say that.
Yes.
Don't be a coward, Ryan. That was our hate comic.
I didn't even think about it until you guys brought up books we hate, and like it never once crossed my mind. I'll be
basically
honest.
anything by Mirka Andolfo that she wrote. We're gonna be real.
Unfortunately, I really love her art, but that book
great artist
book was marketed as like some kind of underwater horror Lovecraft Cthulhu book, and I'm wearing a Cthulhu versus Godzilla shirt right now as we speak. I'm a sucker for H.P. Lovecraft, so I grabbed that book, and it had nothing to do with any of that stuff. It was the weirdest story, but because I have some sort of brainworm, I continued with it. Unlike you reading Casual Fling and dropping it after one issue, which
listen, you and Jennifer had that in common. She would read books for months at a time that she would hate, and it's like, why are you still reading this? What?
I don't know. I told myself
it's a completionist. Yeah.
At least Deep Beyond was like a mini series, and there was an ending. It was so like that part of it was like. It did. It ended at issue 12.
It's not
It was
like poor
marketed as a
Jennifer, who
12-issue
was reading
series.
15 issues of Alien and then eventually decided at like 22 to drop it.
Yeah, that's okay. The book I decided to bring was something that actually just happened like a month or two ago, honestly. And this is because of you, actually, Mars, in a way. I know you and I have never really had a lot of interactions, but I know you and Jennifer are both in love with Yara Flor. And ever since Yara Flor kind of came on the scene,
in front of the co-host or the co-founder of the Yara Flor fan club.
Exactly.
Both members are in attendance.
Thank you. Yeah, I see the Funko back there too, Greg. Yep. The current run on Wonder Woman, by the way, must read. It's terrific. Tom King. It's great. Go read it, regardless of what you feel about Tom King or Wonder Woman. It's a really good book. But this issue came out, well, I don't know when it came out, honestly, a month or two ago. I'm behind. So I just got to it.
I think they're on issue 19 or 18 right now.
Right?
So
this is number 15.
Back. Yeah.
So yeah, I read this probably a month ago.
Right for your reading schedule, Ryan.
Dude, shut up, man. Right now I'm like 2 weeks behind. I'm reading books that came out on New Year's Day. So I'm catching up. I'm slowly working my way to current day. However, this book features Wonder Woman just kind of recruiting all of the other Wonder girls for Wonder stuff that they do.
Love that.
And you get Cassie in here, and you get all these other people who have been Wonder Girl over the years, including Yara Flor here. And there's just this badass. She robs a bank just because she can.
Does. She robs a bank.
She robs a bank, walks out with
be
like,
gay and
the
commit
cash,
crimes.
Like throws down with the cops. And I was reading this. I was reading this, and I pulled out my phone to message her, and I was like, "Oh, crap!" I didn't know if she was actually reading this run or what, but I was reading it, and I was like, "This you're off one moment." Just
Ryan, if I tell you we had the same experience,
uh-huh.
So John gifted me a care package of comics for Christmas, and in that care package was the first 2 volumes of Wonder Woman because it's his favorite book right now. He thinks that I know I'm gonna love it because it's Wonder Woman and Tom King. I sat down to read it on last Saturday and got 5 pages in before I picked up my phone and went to call Jen, telling her how much I loved it.
Yep.
And I couldn't, and it sucked. And I messaged John. I was like, I know that I should talk to John. He's the one that bought me the book. He's the one that wants me to read the book. But it's like, it happens so often where I'll read something, I'll watch something, I'll hear something, and I'm like, let me go call Jen, and I can't. And it sucks.
It does.
It sucks.
It really does. But it's funny how all of us have had that reaction over the last, as she was getting sicker, all of us having that desire to share something with her. Usually it was something spicy on my end, a book that I read. I had to keep what was it? The Bang Report. I had to keep her aware of
Smash
Report, who was smashing who. I wanted her to be, aware of who was, and when I read that Wolverine Storm issue 3, I was like, she should know this. She should know this.
If it does make you feel better, Ryan, I remember when the book was announced, me and Jen talked about it because Jen was notorious for her relationship with Tom King. She always said Tom King does not know how to write a coherent story. It's always back and forth, which is true. Doesn't make it bad. But she joked with me that this was probably going to be the one book that she loved just from the preview pages alone. And while she didn't get to read it, I honestly think just with the involvement of all the Wonder Girls, the gorgeous art from Daniel Sampier.
Sampier, yeah.
I think that she would love it and adore it. I really do.
Greg, what about you? What did you bring today?
Well, you mentioned Will
Super Pro.
I wish I brought Super Pro.
Always bring Super Pro.
But like Comic Con Live, Ryan and I were with Will and Jennifer on that show every Friday night for what was it, a year and a half?
You were the late night crew.
I mean, you and Jen were definitely on there.
Yeah. Ryan, actually, this was before Ryan got busy. Ryan was on almost every episode. I'm going to defend Ryan on this one. He was actually there for a lot.
I think this was back when I didn't even like work with Comic Tom full time yet. I was still at the hotel, and I still had some kind of
there was a
freedom
season
over my
where
life.
Will was busy with wrestling. Then it was just me, Ryan, and Jennifer doing it for a couple Fridays. But I mean, I'm grateful for that because that was where I really got to know who Jennifer was and connect with her and meet people like Mars through that show and Travis and, TM Scott. Nerdy and Scott and everyone that, has followed me now because of my time on that show. And so it was fitting that I feel like I had to bring a book that we talked about a lot on that show. And it is none other than The Many Deaths of Layla Starr by Ram V and Felipe Andrade. And I had to bring out the foily cover because Jennifer loved a good cover.
Do you know how many of those covers she bought every time they would announce a new printing or an exclusive? It was, I'm going to go buy it.
Yep.
Oh, see, even Natessa was like more Deep Beyond discussion. She wants us to go back to more Deep Beyond.
Well, we mentioned it already. And Ryan was a coward to not have it as his pick. No, but and this was like, it was one of those books that we just talked about. And that's where I think I really started to fall in love with Ram V's writing. Because when we were on that show, it was when he was doing the Swamp Thing book. And you really got to see a lot of his indie writing there and the thematic elements that this book deals with. Like it just, this made me appreciate indie comics even more so and what the stories that they could tell. And it's a gorgeous book. And it's, if you've never read
those not as familiar with Many Deaths of Layla Starr, can you do a quick summary?
The idea is basically, if Death gets evicted from her job, she's been canned and she that's reincarnated basically in a human named Layla Starr. And then she kind of has to struggle with these next, I think it's 5 issues of she's trying to hunt down and kill the boy who then comes into taking her role as Death growing up into that role. And so there's a lot of process of trying to figure out and struggling with mortality, struggling with immortality, struggling with death and all these elements. And, of like when she's reincarnated into the hospital in the first issue, it's where the child is born that is going to oh my goodness.
And one of her favorite issues, I believe it was issue 3, which was entirely done from the perspective of a cigarette. And it's a book that I didn't read until it was in trade, and it was a book every month on Casually Comics. It was Mars, please read The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. It's a book she'll ever read, and damn if she was not right.
Yeah. I mean, get the trade, and then that it goes into like that connection all the time. By the way, I love that comment that Josh left because Ryan, it's so true. You, me, Jennifer talked about. I think you should leave all the time.
You guys are talking about banging and sex and shit, and we're talking about Tim Robinson farting and getting joke toilets and eating hot dogs and. She's not going to get to see his new HBO series either. That sort of bums me out.
And that's when a new Tim Robbins show comes out. Like that's when I think because one of my favorite experiences was when season 3 came out. Ryan, Jennifer, and I coordinated when we were going to watch it. We waited till we could all line up to the same time, and we're like, okay, we're all pressing play on our TVs now, and there was no stop. We were like, we're taking no breaks. We're gonna watch 3 hours of it, and we were messaging back and forth like, love this skit. This is the best one. This is so good. Like, and that was like, and those were some gems right off that bat, and like experiencing that in that community with people that love something that you love. And getting to experience it firsthand together, even though we weren't there, like that's a core memory that I have that I'm just like, that was such a good time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that. I mean, I don't know the solution to the problem that this group of 4 has brought up, which is, wanting to still have the ability to have the conversation about something with somebody so specific, somebody so unique, somebody so of that same mindset about things. And there's no replacement, right? That's the reality. And that's the hard part, I think, that at least on my side of the screen that I'm dealing with is how do you you still want that experience and you still want to share, right? And it's nothing against any of the three of you, but it's a different experience.
It's a different experience. No, it is, and
no less enjoyable. But you know, there's just it was one of a kind.
Yeah, because it's like I knew how she was going to react to things. She was going to give me the reaction I craved. You know, like when they revealed that Doom and Storm were getting together, I messaged you because you were the only person I could, and you reacted, but it's not the
reacted.
Not the visceral in caps, like screaming. I get the immediate FaceTime call being, what the hell's going on? Like, she was special. She is special.
100%. I don't know where to go beyond that. I'm really grateful that I can remember so many times listening to all three of you with Jenn and certainly hearing quality comic talk where I was learning about books I should pick up or avoid, but just also feeling like I was right there with you guys and having a great conversation about something that I love and hearing perspectives that were different than mine, but yet also fantastic and original. So,
for sure.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you all for doing this. Like, I mean, getting to have those experiences with Jennifer talking comics. I mean, what I appreciated was that you could have so many conversations with and start to learn and like a book even more than you're like, oh my goodness, how did I miss this? Because her way to explain it to you, like, I even feel like something like I'm an idiot when I explain stuff. Like when I'm explaining Layla Starr, I'm like, Jennifer's probably like, oh, hold on, Greg, let me tell you what it's really about. Like, let me, you're not doing it justice here.
Yeah.
Because she had that way that she could just tell you about anything. And you like, I got to instantly read this.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, I've got a few people waiting backstage. If you guys, I didn't want to cut you off. If there was a story you wanted to share or another book that you wanted to highlight, I didn't want to cut you guys short.
Oh, I think we got to do it and see that. So
awesome. Well,
thank you for being here, guys.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you for asking.
Yep.
It wouldn't have been possible without you guys for sure. I definitely am glad it timed out well. Mm-hmm. All right.
Word.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Yep. All right. I have an incredible lady backstage who obviously incredibly creatively talented.
Can we just do a check-in with everybody?
Yeah? Oh, should we say hi to the chat first?
No, not even saying hi to the chat, but just to chat. Like, I don't know about you. I've been on the verge of tears now for the past 20 minutes. I want to check in with everybody. I want to make sure everybody's doing okay. Yes. I want you to know that we love you and that we're here for you and that we're all here for a wonderful reason. I'm going to tell myself that it's okay to cry. It's okay to mourn and grieve in your own way. But yeah, I'm just doing a little, listen, we're at the halfway mark. I got to do a little check-in.
It's a green. Yeah. Drop those green hearts. Everybody's definitely feeling the same way, which I think is a testament to Jenn.
Yeah.
So no, I thank you. I'm a guy. I guess I'm just trying to keep things going, right? If I keep to a schedule and I keep to a format,
and that's why we're doing this together.
Yes, exactly.
But this next wonderful lady, as you were saying, is so incredibly talented.
She's a creative talent. She's a incredibly passionate friend. She's been someone that the second I heard her, the way she discusses comics, the way she discusses story, I was captivated, and I've been incredibly grateful to have her as someone I connect with. And yes, stop pointing at yourself. It is Carrie, the officially unofficial geek.
Hi guys.
Hi. Oh, look at that mug. Ain't that cute? I wonder where you got that
It is keeping me going right now because I just got over being sick and now I'm sick again.
Oh no.
So this is warm beverage in here and I'm here with warm beverage.
Yes.
obviously with
Choosing
the
the
right
violence.
message.
Sundays we choose violence. On Saturdays we choose violence as well.
On Saturdays we cry, which will probably happen. I'm just gonna say it. I'm a crier.
Me too.
And
Me too.
yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen. I'm sure.
Carrie, I'm so grateful that you had the time to make this possible, because obviously you have, in my opinion, some of the same energy, joy, passion, violence that I love from Jenn.
Yes.
Let me tell you something that I've said here and there. I'm here. I'm in this position. I'm here because I saw those two women. I'm here because I have spent a lot of my adult life trying to figure out who I am and what I'm supposed to be, where I'm supposed to be, where I belong. And
I just got some of my hold on. Okay, continue.
And during the pandemic, I discovered comic books, and as no time in that I did before, I went hardcore. I dove way.
You fall fast. Listen, you get into this medium. It's not just dipping your toe. You in it.
I got in hardcore, and I remember. The first two things that I read that really piqued my interest was two books, Punk Rock Jesus, which people have been forever telling me to read, and the other one was Bitch Planet. And nice. Then from that moment on, it was like I was like, I'm in. I went to comic book shop and my boyfriend Joe Bizarro Fett in the chat, he was like, you know what? At this time, it was like, he's like, DC has got some future state thing going on right now. And then it sounds like they're going to launch, relaunch into like something. And that ended up being Infinite Frontier. And he's like, this is probably the best time to jump into DC.
Yeah.
So I did. And I remember I was like, okay, so if we're diving into this, I need to know everything. I need to really immerse myself in all this. And I was working from home, and he was tasked with trying to find YouTubers, people on YouTube to watch. And like he dove into that as well. And first few that he brought me were Gem Mint, Comics with Bueller, and because of Comics with Bueller, brought me Robbie, Pop Culture Philosophers. And I was like, these guys, all right, this is great. The first thing I said after I was like, okay, everything looks good, I was like, where are the women? Where are the women? I want to know. These guys look cool. All right, right on. I want to know where the women are. So I went looking for the women. And one of the first channels I found was Jenn's channel. One of the first videos I watched was a replay of Jenn and Mars. And I was like, okay, subscribe. And I would see just how they talk, not only about just the comics, but also just things in general. The way I saw these two women in totally different parts of the country coming together over this. And it was this community. It's like, I was like, I'm going to read the comics and like hear about them online. But then I come to find out there's this community. And so I saw when the next live show, when it came up, I go in there and I'm like, well, crap, there's a chat, And so I start chatting. But the thing is before I even got there, I remember telling Joe, these two women, I want to make friends with these two women.
And damn, you did.
And
you pulled a me with Jenn.
I made it a goal. And I got in the chat, and I not only did I make friends with those two women, I made friends with John. I made friends with Sheena. I made friends with TM Nerdy. I made friends with all these, other people that are in the chat that have been on this this show so far. Yes, the Come All Ye Faithful. I remember the last show, when they announced the last show. And I remember I ran through the house like the dude from The Office, like, this is happening. Everybody stay calm. And I just, it was one of those things where it was like, sometimes you look all your life looking for where you belong, looking for, you're a misfit and you're looking for the other misfits. And I got in that chat and I found the other misfits. I found them and it was like, oh crap. And now, these women are doing it. I'm going to get there. I'm going to talk about that stuff.
Hell yeah, you are.
I'm going to be in there. I'm going to say things and I'm going to, I always got amazing support. I didn't know until the last show. You always wonder, sometimes you get views like right away on your videos, and you're just like, who is that person with that notification bell? Who is it? Who is it? And I'm sitting there and she's, shouting everyone out, in the chat. And she's like, oh, I just got the notification. You just dropped a video. And it was that moment I found out it was one of them was her. And like, I can talk about all kinds of memories that I have just being in the chat, being, talking to her online. And there's this moment where I'm sitting there and as Sean said, I'm a creative person. I write and,
you do.
I didn't have, I was publishing my poetry and I just released a book called Political Science. And guess what my poetry is about sometimes. And she's like, oh, I want to talk about this book that I just got. And I don't know where she holds up my book.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, she could not read it. Like, just the fact that she freaking bought it, like, and showed it out, like, that was just, people don't, being an indie author and being somebody that is not traditionally published, it's rough, okay? Sometimes people pay attention, but most of the time, they don't. And the fact that she just went out of her way to pay attention, that meant so much to me. And I've had other people do that since. And it was just, she was that first one. And
wow.
I don't even know, like you wanted us to, you suggested to bring a remembrance of a book. And I chose one. It was really funny. Like when you brought that up and you're like, choose a book. And right away, I'm like, I messaged Mars on her phone. And it's like, did you ever actually read Hoxpox yet? Which she admitted she had not read it yet.
I have not read Hoxpox despite all of the promises to read Hoxpox. So listen, I want to talk about Hoxpox real quick. Jennifer and Carrie's gonna go more into it. Jennifer,
just a little bit.
Jennifer called my local comic shop, right? Jennifer called my local comic shop and was like, hey, y'all, can I buy something from y'all over the phone? And I remember them telling me what the actual, like, what, I'm confused at what you're trying to do. And she's like, I want to buy a book for my friend and I want to have it already paid for so that way when you get there, it's there. And they were like, okay. So they had to do some like weird backwards transaction where it was like she bought a gift card and then they applied the gift card to Hoxpox. So that week when I went to go pick up my books, I had my stack of comics and they were like, oh, and this is for you too. And I was like, I looked at it and I'm like, I didn't order this. I didn't order this. And they're like, oh, it's already paid. And I'm like, what do you mean it's already paid for? And they're like, yeah, somebody called Jennifer. Called, and it was like a really weird transaction. They went over all the details, and I'm like, this son of a bitch. And I called her in the middle of my LCS. I'm like, what did you do?
Hey, you have no excuse now.
What do you? That's exactly what she told me. Which we have no excuse. Well, guess what? It's been 4 years and I still haven't read it.
Apparently, you and Greg need to get together and do a stream.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
You're refusing.
I can't. I try.
Well, and that's Joe. He did
Joe's
not like it.
Thank you, Joe.
Not everybody has good taste.
Anyway, Carrie, I'm not trying to take your moment, but
no.
It was such a marvelous pick.
I feel like next to Brian Azzarello, Hoxpox is my biggest nemesis. Okay, whereas Brian Azzarello is my nemesis, Hoxpox is my rival.
Oh,
and hopefully someday we can all join up together and you'll tell us. Guys, I finally read that.
Read Hoxpox.
That behemoth of a book. So she would always, talk about Hoxpox every once in a while, and there was this moment. Well, I thought it was funny. I'm getting ahead of myself. I was like, look, I'll pick something else to talk about, and you were like, no, do it. Talk about Hoxpox.
Do it. Somebody at this round table of memorial had to bring Hoxpox. If nobody bought Hoxpox, I would have sent somebody back and been like, go pick a Hoxpox.
Which is amazing because if you've frequented my content when I was regularly reviewing comic books, I was very heavy DC.
Me too.
My first love of comic books before now was I got into stuff via the X-Men cartoon series. When I was a little girl back in the early 90s, 93, my brother and his friends were very heavily into Marvel. And they got really excited about the X-Men cartoon coming out.
Yeah.
And so to me, it was the X-Men. It was Batman, the animated series, which you would see my absolute love of Harley Quinn in that coming from there. So when I came back and I could not click with X-Men. And then what was it? Jerry Dugan came out with the X-Men.
Jerry Dugan.
Yeah. Came out with this X-Men one. I'm like, okay. Here we go. You were like, jumping off point, everybody. Jumping on. Ooh. Right? I get that X-Men #1, and what the heck is this? What is Krakoa? What is this? I do not get this at all. This is not a jumping off point. It's not a good jumping off point, at least. And it was one of those things where, like, eventually, it started coming out. In the over the months and years, Jenn kept on mentioning Hoxpox. Yeah. So eventually it got relayed to me that a lot of my understanding might be helped if I read Hoxpox. And it was completely. I totally understood the whole Krakoa thing. And what I understood about the whole Krakoa thing was, and I'm not going to give too much about the story away because I would love Mars to read it someday.
It sounds like Tessa might be trying to organize some sort of a mutant thing, trying to convince it's an enemies to lovers. That's what it is.
Well, the thing is, one of the reasons I could have talked about Cinnamon, because all of a sudden I'm sitting there in this chat, with them. They're talking about this comic book about this cute little cat, Cinnamon.
Yes.
That they totally convinced me to read.
Cinnamon was such a good boy.
I loved it because I'm a cat owner. I'm a cat lover. I'm a cat mom. And it just was like, I was watching my cats and thinking about like what they were thinking.
Yeah.
And then, so I read Hoxpox. It helped me understand Krakoa. And what I got from Krakoa was that despite everything else that happens, it was this place where all the misfits could come and be misfits together and not have to worry about people coming after the misfits, because we could all be misfits together.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And she, along with Mars here, helped me find my Isle of Misfits.
See, Mars, Krakoa is for lovers.
And there's this moment, and I want to say it, and I want to talk about it, that happens specifically in Hoxpox. So if you're familiar with the X-Men, you know that on Krakoa, certain things happen, and they were able to get this idea that they could reincarnate people, like bring them back from the dead, that kind of thing. So you know about all that. Now, there's this moment in Hoxpox where the X-Men are on a mission, and I'm not going to say what happens. I don't want to give it away, but there's this moment. All seems potentially lost. Everything is going to heck in a handbasket. All that's left to do is, all you can do is just complete the mission, and it meant death. It meant the end. And the last two left were Nightcrawler and Wolverine. And there's this moment, and I have it right here on my phone. Nightcrawler looks at Wolverine and is like, they're about ready to do it. They're about ready to do this thing, certain death. Asks him if he's ready. And Wolverine says, so I got to ask, you still think there's something waiting for us on the other side? To Nightcrawler says, worried about your soul, Logan? And Logan says, just wondering what someone like me should be expecting. And Nightcrawler says to him, let me get back to it. I lost it. It says to him, when you wake from your earthly slumber, my friend, look for me. I will be there waiting for you, radiant with open arms.
I love
that moment, I thought that was probably a really good thing to bring up here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
This is not the end. I'm not Catholic like Nightcrawler. I do believe that our energy doesn't just leave, doesn't just blink into nothing. Somewhere she's there. And
I love that.
Someday, when I wake from my earthly slumber, when we all wake from our earthly slumber, she will be someone we look for.
100%.
She will be someone that we look for. And for me, it's to finally get that hug I didn't get. Because she helped me find my Isle of Misfits. And I have to say something specifically to you, Mars.
Oh, God, I'm going to cry again. Oh, okay. I'm ready. I think. No.
Someday, I want you back here. You got to go. You got to do what you got to do. You got to feel what you got to feel. But then you get your butt back here.
Yeah. This island is waiting for you.
What you started. For crying out loud. Because somebody else has to come along and they have to say, where are the women?
All right. You're going to hold me to it.
Oh, I will.
It's on video forever.
I will.
Yes, 100%.
But somebody has to come along and be like, when somebody comes along and they're asking, where are the women? We have to be there. You have to be there. Sheena has to be there. Inja has to be there. Tessa has to be there. All of these other women, we all have to be here for when somebody comes looking for the women talking about comic books. We're here.
Yeah.
My girls always we're always looking for them. When we started doing it, they were like, who are the other? That's how we found Jenn. The girls subscribed, and then I would find them in Jenn and Mars's chats, learning all kinds of new words. But they were absolutely asking that question. So it's not,
they gotta learn it somewhere, right?
They were absolutely looking for that kind of stuff. And the more people like you ladies and K-pop, I know people are throwing out links and names in the chat. Please do that. But yeah, it's 100% valid.
The moral of the story is, and I carry it with me everywhere, is comics are for everyone.
Yes.
So that's the moral of the story.
There it is. TM just barely tied you with that.
Yeah.
Carrie, thank you so much for incredible. You're a superb eloquence and taking the time.
Yes.
And
making me cry.
Grateful. Yes.
Congratulations, you did it.
I used to send. I'm horrible. It seems like I'm great with words right now, and it seems like I know what to say.
Yeah.
But throughout her battle, it was really hard to figure out exactly what to say.
Yeah.
So what I'd do is I'd send her funny videos. So, sometimes if that's the best you can do, that's the best you can do. But I feel like what really stinks about the distance between all of us is that I feel like, well, I got to know her. I didn't get to know her enough.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
But we're thankful for every second we ever had with her, all of us, whether it was through a screen, through a text, in person. That's the most important thing, is to be thankful for every second you had.
Yeah.
You already got Sheena going backstage. She's already like, what am I doing? I don't want to do this. Sheena's questioning all of her day's choices right now.
Sheena is amazing. Sheena is you got my top 6 people that always show up when I want to forward a video, and she's there.
Oh my goodness. She sends me so many things. Yeah.
I mean, there's Joe.
I have to make sure my headphones are on though when I play.
Oh yeah. I'm always sending her stuff, and sometimes we talk about different things, and I send her stuff. I send Mars stuff all the time, and it's sad because you'll go there and you'll go to send a video on Instagram or something like that, and you go to forward it, and then kind of what you guys were talking about a little while ago.
Yeah,
her picture's still there.
She's always with us.
And then every once in a while, you just go back what the heck did I always send her?
Go back and look through it.
and you look at
That's
it.
a rabbit hole.
But yeah. Come back.
Yes. Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you for being here, babe.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.
Okay. We got another crew coming in here. I've got, of course, our gal, the half of Melanin and Manga here. We got Sheena the Geek.
Sheena, don't you start.
No, I was already starting in the chat. I said, nobody else is crying. Let me pull myself together. And then Carrie came on. I said, thank God. She so I could come out looking like I was in the chat. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I love you, Sheena, and I'm so grateful for you having the time to come and hang out with us. You're just,
Oh no.
you're just amazing.
Oh no. Thank you for even thinking about me. Like all the people that she knew, and then you hit me up. I was like, they have room. Oh, okay, thank you. I'll be there.
Come on.
Get out of here. I'll be there. You ain't gotta like that. I was gonna be here.
Well, absolutely had to have you. And then I've also got Tim the nerd. What's going on? Tim from Friends Talking Nerdy. How you doing, Tim?
Hi, Tim.
I am doing good here. Just enjoying kind of a cold day here in Portland, Oregon, but really appreciate the opportunity to sit back and talk about Jennifer today. She was a special soul in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I have one other Portland homie hanging backstage. The guy who was willing to put me up when I crashed on his couch. What's going on? I hung out on his couch with his dog. What's going on, Scott?
Hey. Yeah, John's a great tenant. It's fine. You know, like if he shows up in your town, it's fine. He won't mess anything up. He leaves a tip.
Happy to dog watch.
5-star reviews.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh. Well, I appreciate the three of you coming on and talking some books and talking some memories about Jenn. Sheena, I gotta say, if you didn't bring this book, I was absolutely going to bring it. I had to find a cover that was safe for me to put on my channel and not get me in trouble.
Okay. And oh my goodness. Okay, let me hold. Because my son saw, he was like, "What is that, Mom?" I said, "Mind your business, bro. Like, go somewhere." Like,
of course, I'm talking about Dickfight Island.
Hell yeah! That's the clean cover.
And I had to cover up Mars. I'm sorry, I didn't get to see Mars's reaction to Dickfight Island, but I know it's not the first time it's come up. So yes, I've got to find a copy of this book somewhere. It's a manga, right? It's several mangas.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Talk me some Dickfight Island. Let's do it.
Oh my goodness. So where did it begin? Yeah. So I first heard it on their channel, and it was actually Mars, but Jenn would always bring it up. And I'm like, what is this book that they keep talking about? As soon as she said it, I was like, what? And I went on, I was like, I need this book. And it is wild. And
it's silly.
Yes,
it's funny.
It's so good. It's so wholesome. Like, it doesn't sound like it, but it is. It's very wholesome. It's very, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they would always sporadically just bring it up. And I'm like, yes. Every time I see it on my shelf, I'm like,
it's just a fun little book where guys fight on an island with their dicks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, no, with their dicks.
It is what it claims to be. Like it is perfectly titled. I'm assuming
it's perfectly titled. That's about as much as we can say about that without getting the channel banned.
Coming soon on Disney Plus.
Coming soon on Disney Plus. Right. Listen, there's a reason why when you go into a bookstore, it's wrapped in plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I if you didn't bring it up, I was absolutely going to do it. So I'm glad Sheena represented. And of course, Melanin and Manga would have to bring it up.
Yes,
no doubt.
But Sheena, isn't there another book that you brought up?
Yes,
a book that you beat me to.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry, babe.
No, it's fine.
You want to hold it up together?
Yes.
Do you have it? Okay, 1, 2, 3. I have the. Yep. I have the
is
first.
it the same book? But
yeah.
Listen,
I think
actually, you sent me this book because of Jennifer's recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like we're coming full circle with it.
Right.
Listen.
What is it about that one that you connect to Jenn, Sheena? What is it about that one that you linked in your mind?
So yeah, when I used to watch their show religiously, like I was going to church, and she brought this one up.
First in the chat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Besides Travis, I was right behind there, just sitting there waiting. And then she had brought this book up, and she was talking about how she would bang him, and she's the other girl in there, how she's like fretting, how she knew she wanted it, but yeah. And then I was like, well, I don't read a lot of like Marvel books, but yeah.
It was monster boinking. Yeah. We can say it. It was monster boinking. Yeah. Jennifer says, "Hey, Beatty Bill and Lady Sif, fuck." And
Right.
I think that both me and Sheena were like,
Oh.
what?
What? Right.
And that's how Beta Ray Bill became my favorite Marvel character.
Right. And then I was able to actually be on the stream with her and talk about Beta Ray Bill. And that was just a moment I'll never forget. And I'm like so nervous because we talked, of course, we talked like in the DMs, but we never been on together. And I'm like trying to read something out loud. And she's like, I could listen to you read out loud all the time. I'm like, I'm going to fucking faint right now. Like, and it was like meeting somebody that you like idolize and they're everything that you dreamed they were, So yeah.
That's fantastic. And then I know she was really upset because Lady Sif was like not interested. She walked away. Walked away. She's like, Lady Sif has just gone way down in Jenn's estimation.
Right.
The whole premise of the book is Beta Ray Bill,
self-love,
Lady Sif, and Lady Sif is like, no, you got a horse face. And so he's on this adventure to basically find somebody to turn him into a human.
Yeah.
And well, not even a human, but just a non-horse face. And I mean, I get it. The horse face is a little weird. I get it, Lisa. If I won't knock you down that much.
Well, I think Jenn's attitude was very much like, no, keep him as the horse.
Jenn's attitude was very much
why are we switching this up? It's all working.
But it's a very beautiful book. It's done by Daniel Warren Johnson, who is a phenomenal artist, phenomenal writer. And what's great about this book is you don't have to know anything about Beta Ray Bill, Thor, Lady Sif. It's very much a jump in, enjoy it. It feels like me and Jenn, this was our favorite thing to say when we read like Cape Comics was it feels like an indie comic. And those were our favorites because it meant anybody could jump into it. And then they could maybe fall in love with a character or fall in love with, say, the Marvel Universe. So Beta Ray Bill is pretty good. It's a pretty good book.
All Daniel Warren Johnson gets the stamp of approval. Tim, what I know you brought a really phenomenal book that's like almost part history. Like it is a phenomenal book. What do you want? Do you have a copy of it? Do you want me to put the image on the screen? Oh, there it is. Look at him.
Yes.
I came prepared. Yeah. It's March Book 1. It's part of a trilogy of books by the late John Lewis about his life and everything. And it was a book that was actually discussed on my podcast, Friends Talking Nerdy, that Jennifer was. It was my honor for her to be a part of. And it's one heck of a great book. And it's like living in Portland, Oregon, especially around the time when we recorded this episode in 2021, it was one of those situations to where the older I get, the more I realize just how much history has been whitewashed in a lot of ways. Like finding out just a few months ago that Bob Dylan played at the March on Washington, at the same March on Washington that Dr. Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech. Like you would think this would be something that would be told, but this is America. And what I loved about the book and what he actually talked about in book 1 as well was how the civil rights movement at the time was actually utilizing comic books to tell stories, to be able to connect with people. But I know there's one part on page 100 here that Jennifer pointed out that she said was really special to her, where it was the scene where the students in Tennessee that John Lewis was a part of was visiting one of the diners that they knew they were not going to get served in, and they were not going to respond with violence, but other people did respond in violence. And the lines, violence does beget violence, but the opposite is just as true. And when she talked about that on the show, and I replayed the episode a few episodes back on episode 387, so you can anywhere you listen to podcasts, Friends Talking Nerd, you can listen there. But she said that moment really stuck with her, and as someone that lived in Portland, Oregon, a few blocks away from where some of the protests were happening here at the time, and during a time to where I had to end up closing my windows to make sure my cats were okay from the tear gas smoke that was coming into the house. It really meant a lot, and especially with what we're looking at starting next week for the next 4 years at minimum. This is a story that we need to take to heart more than anything, you know. And I, more than anything, I guess I love how it's told in a conversational way, because, you know, it's a story of a congressman and he has a long history. It could have been presented as really scholarly, but it's like he's there talking to you, and that's what I really love about the book.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
And I liked about Jenn too that she always was like, I don't want to say like the little people, but she always had a voice for people that always didn't have a voice.
She
didn't give a fuck.
Very active and political, and knew her resources and would provide those resources. And
she supported the Island of Misfits. That much is true.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Great pick, Tim. Thank you so much. Scott, I'm excited by your pick. When you told me what it was, I was like, okay, this is very fitting.
What'd you bring, Scott?
What do you got?
What'd you bring?
So I know you all think I brought Dune, and I did not bring Dune. I thought about it though, and I just not to just guarantee that everybody starts sobbing, but I do have one of Jenn's copies of Dune here with us. See, I did it. Sheena gave me a permission structure to start sobbing.
No doubt.
So,
I'm like,
and I love how you said
I'm gonna put it together.
And I love how you said one of her copies of Dune, because for those that don't know, when I visited Jenn, and anybody who was in Jenn's presence or happened to go to her apartment, there was a stack by the window of Dune. And it wasn't just, okay, here's all the Dune books. It was, here is every different version, every cover of Dune. I'm sure she had some in different languages.
Yeah.
She had so many copies of Dune, it was not even funny.
Yeah, she had just over the right amount of Dune, like there's the right amount of Dune, and then she had like a little more, I think.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little more. Yeah. No, but the book I wanted to talk about is Genderqueer by Mike Kobe.
Such a good pick.
Definitely a book that I wouldn't have been aware of without Jenn. I think she made me aware of it. And then, you know, Sheena, like what you said, I got to talk about the book with Jenn and Dan and Gambit on a stream.
Yes.
And that was, and I'm pretty sure that was the first time.
I
think that was the first time we like interacted like face to face. I think it was like maybe a couple weeks later that I actually met her in person, Jenn, for the first time when we did that.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was I'm like, that was, you know, height of the lockdown. Also, I think there was a heat wave when we did that stream. So I remember it being like 115 degrees in Portland, which is not.
Oh, wow. Right.
Usually it's not like that.
And that was a book,
heat cloud or whatever, right?
That was a book that was near and dear to her heart, and that she pushed a lot, especially because at one point, I believe it was like 2021, it was on like the banned book list, and there was a big fight for genderqueer. And I mean, it's an important, it's very much like March. It's like there's two sides of the same coin, you know, where one is about activist rights, you know, and the importance of that in our country. Genderqueer does that for queer voices as well, you know, and these were two things that Jenn was so passionate about, you know.
Yes. Yeah, actually, what I was thinking through why, I mean, so there's obviously that connection of getting to actually talk about it with her. Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny that you mentioned that. But I was looking at it, I was like, so it's a comic, right? An excellent comic. It's about queer and trans identity in the world. And it was one of the most banned books in the US. And so I made this little Venn diagram of like, it's gay comics, and it was banned. And there's Jennifer right here.
Stop, I'm dying.
It's gay.
Like to live. Yeah.
I love it.
So that's why I had to pick that one, because, and also I just want to say it meant a lot to me. This is not the copy I bought. Sorry, give me a second.
No, don't be. No doubt.
A friend of mine really good friend that I've known a long time came out as non-binary, kind of around the time I read that book, and I gave them my copy. And so it just means a lot to me in like so many ways. Yeah. So, I told you if you didn't make me cry in the chat, it's going to happen here. So I was right. I told you.
No doubt.
It's going to happen.
I was like, nobody else was crying.
Yeah, they were all. There's like a time limit, and then since we're at the end, we're going to hit that. And just the waterworks coming out. But yeah, and I just want to say too, like and I've said this to some people privately, but I wouldn't know most of you
that part,
Jenn.
right? Without it, right? Always be thankful. I know. So yeah, no doubt. And okay, I lost my train of thought, but I hated that this is one of the first times me and Mars have been on together, and we've all been together like this, and it sucks that this is the reason why. But at the same time, I'm honored to be up here and share these moments with you guys, and know that we're honoring our girl. So
yeah,
and
I'm incredibly thankful for, and I'll probably talk about this more towards the end of the stream, but like just the people that have come into my life because of Jennifer. Because if you know me, I'm very standoffish sounds too bitchy, but Jennifer was always the, hi, how are you? I want to be your best friend. Whereas I'm like I'm going to admire you from afar, but I'm not going to say anything, but I do love you. I hope you know that I do love you. So yeah, Jennifer like introduced me to so many people. And like just some of the people that are here today, people in the chat. I wouldn't have met people like Sheena. I wouldn't have met people like Carrie if it wasn't for
right,
Jennifer. And now
I'm thankful for Travis too, because he was the one who brought me over. I was like, oh, you should watch them, and I'm like, oh. And the first time I saw you and Jenn, I was like, oh my God, I am in love.
I'm not trying to pick favorites because everybody is our favorites, but me and Jennifer always joked that Sheena was one of our favorites. Sheena was like our number one fangirl. Sheena was queen of the Casually Comics fan club. If we can be so bold to say something like that, but
and that means so much. You have no idea. Like the first time I watched you guys, and I would just sit quietly in the back, but I felt so seen by both of you, and for you guys to even pay attention to me or anything. And I remember before Jenn died, she texts me and she's like, how are you doing? I'm thinking, good God, girl, are you serious? But then sometimes, you're dealing with something huge and you took the time to text me and say, hey, how are you doing? And I hope you're okay.
Yeah.
She was special.
I'm thankful.
Yeah.
I can tell you from my experience, I know in 2022, I moved to Portland, Maine for a while, thinking I was going to start a new life, but found out quickly that it was not the place for me. And I ended up talking to her a lot during that time via Instagram, and we ended up talking about Star Trek a lot. She loves Star Trek.
She loves Star Trek.
Yeah, and that all came rushing back the day I heard the news. I was at work. I'm a dog handler. I work at a doggy daycare in town here.
Nice.
Yeah, cage-free place. So up to 70 dogs or plus. So as the handler, you got to be able to guard your emotions.
Right.
And so I thought, okay, I heard the news. I'm sad. I'm just going to put on some music. And the first song that came up when I hit shuffle was from James Horner. It was from the Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan soundtrack. It was the epilogue and credits music. That was the music that plays after Spock is the.
Don't. It's gonna make me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, where Dr. McCoy says to Kirk, "He's not really dead, as long as we remember him," and that's the same for Jennifer.
Right.
She's not really dead, as long as we remember her.
Yes.
Yep, no doubt. We'll always remember. And no matter if you only knew her through Instagram or anything like that,
or work,
you were important to her. Yeah, and work or anything, any little piece of her, it's valued, and I'll never forget her. and she's made a big impact on my life, even though, and I always told her that. So, but yeah.
When you, Sheena, when you said that idea that it's sad and yet great that somehow Jenn has brought some of us together for the first time. I remember calling Mars and talking to Mars on the phone. And it was the first time we spoke on the phone together was after Jenn had passed. And we were both like, this is a very, like, how have we not done this before? How have we not talked before? And then I think that conversation is the one that ended with both of us saying, okay, bye, Jenn. Like both of us said bye, Jenn, to each other. When we did.
We both said bye, Jennifer. And
it was embarrassing, odd, but also like there was
very
a catharsis.
Fitting.
Very fitting. So yeah, I totally agree with that feeling, Sheena. It's 100% the core of what's happening here.
Yeah. And it's hard not to be like bitter about shit, and it's hard not to be like really angry, but this world did not deserve her. And I hope wherever she is, like wherever she's resting is worthy of her, because she's
got a lot of time right now to get through her stack. She's got so much time.
I love that. That's what your first thought, Mars, is like, well, I hope she's catching up on her reading.
She's watching all the Always Sunny episodes. I used to send her all kinds of shit about Always Sunny. I hope she's watching every single one of them again. Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, Sheena, Scott, thank you so much for coming and sharing those amazing books.
Thank you all for doing this. I know
yes, no doubt.
Just John and Mars, just like putting this together and like pulling us all through this. And being
no doubt
brave, but obviously like still totally genuine. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We got to bring in Brian now, so let me swap some around here and bring Brian in and the Marvel by the Month crew who've been patiently hanging backstage.
He's not that patient.
It was nice that when you had said, Brian, that you wanted that maybe a slot near the end would be better for you, because for me it feels fitting to kind of finish with you guys and the myriad of ways in which you gave Jenn opportunities to still feel connected to this community and to talk about comics and interact with comic books all the way to the end. So it's very fitting to have you guys join us here at the end.
Well, thanks for putting this together, and thanks for having us on. I mean, everyone has said everything that I could say. Jennifer was an amazing person. Absolutely has changed my life forever. And I'm so grateful that my wife Sarah and I were able to be so present in her life and help her through the hardest time of her life, the hardest time of our lives, honestly. But I don't regret a thing. I'm really proud of what we were able to do, and I'm proud of who we got to get to know along the way. And it's something I can always look back on and say, it's like, yeah, like she was worth it.
100%.
And yeah, never second guessing any of those decisions.
Well, I think I said it at the beginning, but I've felt it constantly over the last year. Just so grateful that there were people like you in her orbit in person who could be everything I wished I could be on a regular basis.
Because I will say that given my relationship with Jennifer, that's probably the hardest part of just everything is
absolutely
being on the literal opposite side of the country and feeling so helpless and not being able to do anything. And then when I was finally able to visit, you picked me up from the airport. Like you literally picked me up from the airport, and that was our first time meeting. And literally within the 5 minutes that I spent with you, I knew how much you cared for her. And I could just feel everything that you and Sarah had done. I mean, when we had dinner, everything that you guys had done for her. And it was just beautiful. And I'm so incredibly grateful. that she had people that could, I don't want to say love her when I couldn't, because listen, I love that bitch all the time, but
sure, yeah.
who could give acts of love that I maybe couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like the timing, obviously, like getting diagnosed with cancer at 34, that's crappy timing to begin with, right?
Yeah.
But then also, like, you know, she had moved to a new city just a few years earlier, and then like 6 months after she moved here, we went into COVID lockdown. Yep. And Portland was a town that took longer to open back up from that than a lot of places did. So, you know, like, and so many people love Jennifer, but they were scattered all over the country. And by the time she had gotten her diagnosis, she'd only had, you know, really a year or two to make some of those really deep root connections that, you know, she didn't have family in the area. She, you know, like I mentioned earlier, Josh was here and was super supportive, but, you know, she was in a new place. And, you know, we got to be there and we got to help. And I'm so glad we did. It was, I mean, it sounds stupid to say that we feel lucky that we were able to do it, but I'm glad someone was able to take care of her, and I'm glad we were able to be part of that solution.
Like you always want to minimize your regrets in life, obviously, but like at a time like that, it's sort of like, okay, the thing that matters is this, and it's suddenly super clear what needs to be done, and what needs to be done is like this relationship.
Yeah.
And so whatever the question is, the answer is yes. And like in some ways that makes it easy, because you just it takes the thinking out. You're like, right. We're going to do this, and we're not going to regret, and we're not going to have to think back on like, what could I have done better? Yeah. And like this whole community, like it's everyone kind of, we never said it, but it was sort of an understanding that it's like, we're in this together to whatever degree, you know, your tendrils to her are, and we don't have regrets about not giving the love that we had to give.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, totally agree. I've also got besides you three, and I want to get your books, I've also got a list of some books from people that were not able to make it today, that books that we're going to share as well. But let's kick it off. Do you guys have one that you want to highlight to begin with here?
Sure. Yeah, I'll start. We'll round robin quickly, but I was lucky enough to run into Jennifer a lot, besides, you know, being on the show and a friend, like at Books with Pictures when I would go in there. And so I would often ask for a recommendation, and not being a person who watched a lot of the YouTube channel, she would like make recommendations. And then, but when we were first getting to know each other, she was like, I don't know if you'll like this for sure, but the book, and the reason why, like, she put her hand on my shoulder and said, because it's queer as fuck. And I was like, I think I'm going to like it. Go on. And it was Bolero. And the book Bolero by Wyatt Kennedy. The artist is Luana Vecchio.
I'm gonna look. Mars is already ready for you. Look
there you go. Mars. Yeah, and I even gifted my copy to Jamie at some point, because I was like, you got to read this. And it's I mean, it's a complicated book, but it's really about a love and traveling, you know, through different dimensions and experiencing different versions of a lifetime to do it, and to find that true love and to hold on to it. And it was one of the comics that made me cry. Like there have been a few, you know, I mean, since we read a lot of old Marvel comics, that doesn't happen a lot. But when I'm reading a lot of our, you know, my independent reading, I should say, these are the kinds of books that just touch and break my heart. I mean, people have said The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. Jennifer and I had, you know, a lot of reading in common. So of course I'm like versed in everything Alan Moore has ever done, and especially Swampy. So we immediately connected over a lot of things. And we also connected over heavy metal, and we got to see, especially over the last year or two, I mean, Iron Maiden, Death Clock, with Dragon Force, and Cybertronic Spree, and Max Sabbath, just all these concerts that we got to go together that were just awesome and fun, and to share that with another person, you know.
Well, she was so grateful. I mean, she spoke to me about it several times, being able, not only just being able to get out and be away from that headspace for a few hours, but physically getting out was so complicated that it was wonderful that you were all able to help her engage with something beyond those four walls, because it meant a lot to her.
Yeah, it was so great. And horror movies. I didn't get to go to a lot of horror movies with her, but she and I would talk about them. And we were all talking about, you know, I used to Instagram message her about random things I would like or things she hadn't seen. Cats and Metal, that channel. I introduced her to it. So it's just, if anybody, just look it up. It's really fun. It's just like metal music and videos of cats doing weird stuff to it.
That's perfect for me. I love it.
Yeah. So all these things in common. And I just, like, literally 2 days ago, finally saw Color Out of Space, the recent Lovecraft movie with Nick Cage. And I started to get on Instagram to message her about it. I still am doing that, you know, and I saw her in the hospital the day before she passed, and got to give her a big hug, and got to, you know, send a voice memo and give her a message the day she did. And but it's still like, it just doesn't register to me, because she's just that a person that I want, you know, we all have, there's just these specific things where we want to communicate with her passion, you know, and have that come back to us. And I think we're all just going to have to carry that with us, and not just internalize, but externalize that. Especially. Like, you know, represent what she meant to you and how she, experienced the world. That's my goal. That's what we are all doing with each other. That. We're inspiring each other from that.
Yeah. So fantastic.
Yeah.
What do you got, James?
Yeah, so I'm just bad at life. And I've never YouTubed before. This is a wonderful experience, but it's brand new. So I just wrote a thing, and I'm just gonna read that thing I wrote.
Please.
You do what you need to do.
This is the kind of thing you can get every week on Marvel by the Month.
Self-effacing, blundering. Yeah, you'll love it. All right, yeah. So I'm just gonna read this thing. If it goes on too long, someone just yank me with one of those things. So Jennifer mostly liked things that I thought were scary. She liked music that I would generally describe as nightmare fuel, and in contrast, my music collection contains more than one Rusted Root album. Our initial series of emails was about doing a culture exchange where we take turns exposing the other to music, shows, or comics that they were unfamiliar with or had previously rejected, and doing that in a regular cadence with a whole accompanying rule set. It was fun to talk about. Not following through with that is probably the only regret I have of our time together. And so we did connect over Star Trek, though, all the Star Treks. And the first time we ever hung out was a one-on-one trip where she brought me to a Star Trek themed tea house, which is a particularly special memory. It had a platonic before sunrise kind of feel, if you've ever seen that movie.
Yeah, great. Yes.
Yeah, it was just like a perfect experience. It's also special because that place now doesn't exist anymore. It's closed, and you're never going to have another Star Trek based tea house.
Never say never. We're important.
We just learned we got to be the change we want to see, right? So you got to make it happen now.
It's obviously a gold mine of an opportunity. So yeah, it was just she super casually gifted me a unique and unrepeatable experience. And all it took was me saying yes to this semi-stranger, and that seems like a sort of lesson that she was always trying to teach us. So her, to me, puzzling love of Klingons, it makes me smile literally anytime it goes into my head, which is pretty often. Those are the episodes we always skipped growing up, and that was her bread and butters. The reveal of her love for Deep Space Nine was a foundational moment in our friendship. Among the last texts that she ever sent to me was a recommendation to watch the Deep Space Nine documentary, What We Left Behind. It's excellent for multiple reasons. It made me cry so hard afterwards that I got a headache and had to go to bed early. It was just a raging, crying based headache. It's a wonderful documentary, but it also just was I should have done that while she was still around to talk about. But I went to bed smiling because I imagined her just laughing at me and being ridiculous. So more directly about a pop culture thing, there was one issue during the Krakoan era of X-Men, specifically the Hellfire Gala issue, which was that was the beginning of the fall, and I associate it with her not for like darkness reasons. At the time, I wasn't speaking with many people regularly about X-Men, like, you know, as issues were coming out. I didn't have like a immediate go-to resource to discuss it. But she was among them, and she'd been delayed in reading that issue, and it was like a huge, like, upsetting turning point. So I was like frustrated not being able to like talk with her about it right away.
Now you know who to reach out to.
You're my boy.
Now you know.
And like her interests were so varied that sometimes it seemed like the X-Men stuff was like as important to her as it was to me, but like not always. Like she just had such a wide breadth of interest. So like on the way to a party that we were both going to be at, I just picked up an issue for her. And it hadn't been meant as like a gift of any significance. I just like wanted to talk about it with my friend. And she accepted it in a way that was like grateful, and it made me feel wonderful that like, I don't know, it's like a very casual exchange, but like I was like, oh, we're like, this is a real relationship in a way that like is lasting. So then I had to leave the party early. And a few hours later, she sent me a text that she had gone into the bathroom at the party to read the whole issue. I was like, A, that's hilarious, but B, to me, that's moving, because it meant that she shared my worldview that at times a fictional universe can be more important than a party in a real one. And like, that's the sort of like Island of Misfit Toys theme that's like recurring here, is like, we care about these things, and I got in that moment that she cared about them in the way that I cared about them, and so that felt like a bond. So like in sort of that area, Jennifer and we spent a weird amount of time talking about the word awkward. She always claimed
amount of time.
an awkward amount of time talking about being awkward. She always claimed to be the most awkward person of anyone in any social situation, and
which was a lie. Brian's shaking his head.
It's the
big lie.
Yeah. So it took a while to get there, but what we kind of realized was that like my awkwardness is internal. Like my body tries to completely invert itself if like someone makes a social faux pas, or if there's like a lull in a conversation, like I just want to like hide inside my skin. Jennifer, like, she's a badass. Badasses don't care about stuff like that. Her awkwardness, we realized, is external, in that she would often say a thing to a person that she had met 10 minutes earlier, and this is a quote: "Yeah, I heard Dune 2 was pushed out. If it gets pushed out any further, I'll be dead before it gets to the theaters." She said that to my friend, that she had known from the time it got to the movie theater door to the popcorn line. Like the color from his face, like it was like someone turned a knob.
She was blunt as fuck. That's for sure.
So like,
it's why we loved her.
My awkwardness is fear-based, but hers, and if you can even call it awkwardness, it's a direct side effect of being an authentic, genuine, and like curious person who stays true to like who she knew she was. She didn't let like nuances of social graces get in the way of like connecting with a real person. If she wanted to know, she'd just ask. And that's a flavor of fearlessness that seems to magnetize people towards her. And it did that for me, for sure. I knew I wanted her to be my friend the second I saw her. Like the first thing out of her mouth, I was like, yeah.
She had that effect on people.
Yeah. Comics as a community of size like this is a relatively new concept to me, but Jennifer did it naturally, and she couldn't stop from building them or joining them or facilitating them. For a self-proclaimed queen of awkward who didn't always have a definitely come talk to me, I'm super friendly look about her. People were endlessly pulled into her orbit, and she was like truly magnetic. And when she shined her like mutant magic light on you, you always felt chosen, and that was a gift that she gave to each one of us in some way or another. And among those other gifts, we'll always have Dunes and Krakoas and Star Treks and Swamp Things and like 1,000 other culture notes that she loved and shared with all of us. And the like infectious ripples of those loves reverberate out. And the people that will touch in turn, on and on and on and on forever. It's like it's infinity, and it's Star Trek-y, and it's a Klingon debt of honor that we can't repay. but we can pay it forward and try to make her proud.
Yeah.
Saying "make it so" feels awkward even for me, but I just want to say we love you, Jennifer, and we all thank you for everything that you've given us.
That was so beautiful. Oh my God.
Before I hand it to you in sort of our classic style,
Yeah.
I forgot one important thing, one bond that Jennifer and I had that I wanted to mention because I know she would like it is the Satanic Temple.
Yeah.
Yes.
We bonded immediately over that and sort of ironic Satanism, atheism, Satanism, whatever, however, humanist. And we just loved it and made jokes about it all the time to the very last. I said something on a voice memo message to her on her last day that was, I don't know. I don't think there's anything after this, but if there is, we're going to party in hell. And, I knew that it would bring a smile to her face, and it did. So, that was what it was for. But I just loved that I could share that with her. Like, again, just another weird thing that she could just bond with you over. Okay, we've got to let Brian talk because we're already at time. Sorry, I know.
Yeah, no, it's all right. You guys are the finale. We can go as late as we want. We just might last for a couple more hours. You don't know.
We'll filibuster this thing. So talking about books and Jennifer, there's so much. There's so much for so many reasons. I think first one I want to just talk about is Mr. Miracle, Jack Kirby's Mr. Miracle. I feel like you can't talk about Jennifer and her love of comics without bringing Kirby into it.
Yes.
Her handle was literally "Comics will break your heart." She warned all of us. She warned all of us.
She did.
And we didn't take the warning. But Mr. Miracle it's a series I had read before. And then in 2023, I guess it was, I revisited it at a time in my life where I was frustrated by the way some things were going, and I was really putting things into place to be able to make positive change in my life. And Jennifer was in a really similar place. That was right around the time that we really started hanging out and having great conversations. And there was just a bit, the famous line in here in Mr. Miracle's origin is, when he leaves, he flees apocalypse. He flees, apocalypse.
Apocalypse,
And the famous line is, "Let me be scot-free and be myself." And I just feel like that desire for freedom, not just for herself, but for everyone, absolutely defined her as a person. And it was something that we really bonded over, just that simple concept.
And it makes me so upset that she can't be here to read New Gods by Ram V right now, because I feel like that's a book she would go absolutely feral over.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a text from her very good longtime friend Josh, who was not able to join us for the stream here, but one of the books that he really wanted to shout out was "Freedom is a Constant Struggle" by Angela Davis. He said that Jennifer would talk and give that book out like it was the Communist Manifesto. It was a book that definitely stood on our left-leaning views and would probably be brought into daily conversations. That she really was. She was liberation-minded. And I guess she's free now.
That's one way.
Not the way I wanted her to be.
To be fair, she said that she was not going to live under this administration, and
she didn't.
She didn't.
Boy,
if that's dark Jennifer humor, I don't know what is. But that is one of the first things I said to myself was, "Well, she said she wasn't." So,
wow. Yep. Tessa agrees on the New Gods thing clearly.
Yeah, 100%. And something, so there's sides of Jennifer that you only got to see when you really got to know her, and for being around her as much as I was, and with as many conversations as we would have, I'm not going to get too far into the weeds on this because I don't know what's respectful and what's not. The reason that books were so important to Jennifer is that after school, she would, the public library was on the same street as the school.
Yeah.
And she would go to the library after school while she was waiting to get picked up, which could be half an hour, could be several hours, could be a long time. And it was during that time that she really bonded with books and book people and book culture. And she told me on more than one occasion, like, that's where she got the idea that, like, basically her books were her friends. And I think you saw the passion she brought to comics and the community. And, you know, she knew she could trust people who loved books the way that she loved books. And that was really important. And we started a GoFundMe for her after her diagnosis. And, you know, we're fortunate enough to live in Portland, Oregon, the comic center of the universe. And so we reached out to so many creators and folks who we knew, saying, hey, could you just make a little bit of noise of this on your social channels? And so many folks came out in huge support.
Yeah.
And two of them I really wanted to highlight. So David Walker, David F. Walker, who Jennifer was a good friend of.
Yes.
He was really very supportive. He always showed up for her. He, you know, checked in on her. He was always happy to see her when she would show up at things. They would get waffles at the waffle cart at Books with Pictures on New Comic Book Day, and hang out and chat, and just like an absolute sweetheart of a man. His latest book, Big Jim and the White Boy, which is a retelling of Huckleberry Finn from Jim's perspective, basically. It was one of the last books that Jennifer got. David left a copy in her box at Books with Pictures and wrote a really sweet note in there. This book never left her bedside.
No.
It was there all the way to the end. She took a lot of comfort from that. The other, first volume of Phenomena by Brian Michael Bendis and I'm going to butcher the name, Andre Lima Araujo. Sorry, I absolutely ruined that. But so when I emailed Bendis to say, hey, you know, we're promoting this GoFundMe, can you please make some noise about it? He did that. And then he was like, what else can I do? Like, if I put together a care package for her, do you think that's something she'd want? What kind of comics does she like? Is she more of an indie person? Is she more of a big two person? And within like a couple days, she had this massive box of stuff.
It was huge.
It's huge, like signed scripts and all sorts of, like, you know, things that hadn't even come out yet from Bendis on her apartment doorstep. And the dude he's a top-notch individual, and super supportive. And Phenomena was one of the books that was in that, and we both loved that book. So,
and I remember actually having a couple of conversations with writer Rodney Barnes in a similar fashion.
Hashtag Rodney Barnes for Swamp Thing.
Yep.
He is someone who obviously donated time, donated money, donated and reached out to Jenn and was talking to her and Dan as well as me, and just another phenomenal comic creator who was touched by getting to meet Jenn, interviewed by Jenn, connected to Jenn, and felt that love. So it's incredible how widespread that energy from Jennifer went.
Yeah. And I think the last one I'm going to shout out is just Reckless, The Ghost in You. I think this is the only book I actually ever bought for Jennifer. The only time she was a very tricky person.
Got it before her. Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's, first of all, very tricky to get something that she didn't already have.
That was the hardest part. You could never, so as a gift, like when you got to gift her for Christmas or birthdays or just, hey, I wanted to buy you something, couldn't do it because she probably already had it.
Yeah. And also was a person who was very difficult to do anything for. Like, I mean, we were able to help her, but holy moly, like, did it take some time to like
pulling teeth?
You don't owe us anything for this. Everyone deserves this level of support. And I don't think, like, we would go out and, you know, go see a movie or, you know, grab a drink, you know, the first few months that we knew each other, and I don't think I paid for any. She would not let me pay. It was like a literal fight for the bill every single time. But The Ghost in You, if you haven't read it, basically, if you want to understand Jennifer, this is an amazing book for that. It has a family dynamic that is very accurate to her experience. It has a person who comes into the main character's life, which very closely mirrors, I think, what would have been a Jennifer fantasy. I don't want to say anything more about it because I want people to have the joy of discovering this thing. But I think if you want to understand her, I think if you read this book, I got it for her. She read it right away and loved it and devoured it. And I can't really say more than that. So
no, that whole series by Brubaker is phenomenal, but that's exactly the volume. It speaks to her completely. So that's a phenomenal pick.
And there were dick fights in there, or
there were no dick fights. What? Oh, thank you for the transition.
Hey.
It couldn't be a tribute to Jennifer and her love of comics without bringing up a Brian Azzarello comic.
Listen.
Look, there's a lot of stuff that
I feel like that's the one Brian Azzarello book she would actually approve of because
there we go. Right there.
The Bat Dog.
That's why they call him the Batman.
You know why? This makes me sad because now we'll never get to see Batman Year 18, Barely Legal, which she promised everybody she was going to write.
So
yeah.
So good.
So
oh my goodness.
No, boy, I miss that girl every minute of every day. And I'm gonna miss her forever. It's so good being connected to all of you guys. Thank you so much for putting this together. This actually helped heal my heart.
Yeah.
But holy shit, there's not going to be another Jennifer.
No.
And that's a hard thing.
Never.
But I also feel like I don't think we wasted a minute of the time we got to spend together. Like, I feel like we got a couple years, and I feel like we fit 40 years of friendship into it. And I can't ask for more than that.
Well, she was very lucky to have you guys in her life. Like, the way that you guys talk about her, I'm sure if the roles were reversed, she'd be here saying the same things. That's just the type of person she was.
Yeah.
You know.
Scott said demonetized. No, I mean, I agree. I think shared grief lessens the burden.
Yeah.
I think I'm grateful.
Jennifer
there were so many people doing this with us today.
Yeah. Oh, can we talk about a happier thing? Talking of community and opportunities for more of that.
Let me. I have a few people that were unable to be here. I want to share some of their books. And I know Mars wanted to say something as well. I'm trying not to cut anybody short.
You got it.
Absolutely want to shout out Dan from Comic Chop News, who had a lot of shows with Jenn and a lot of time with her. And there's several great playlists down below of their videos together, their creator interviews, and he wanted to mention the comic Bliss.
Oh, she loved Bliss.
Yes, she did.
And their connection to the creators of this comic, the time they spent talking about the book, talking with the creators, it was really something special for the two of them. Yeah. And if you haven't heard of Bliss or Sean Lewis and Caitlin Yarsky, it's definitely something that you should, like Greg is doing right now, adding to his playlist, putting those things on his purchase list from Books with Pictures. Go over to their website, utilize that. So that one was from Dan. Sheena mentioned Victoria. V is a great friend, and they wanted to bring up the Dreaming Waking Hours. Yes.
A good Sandman book you can read right now.
A Sandman book you can read guilt-free.
Wait, did something happen with Sandman?
But absolutely something worth checking out. And I know there's, Carrie mentioned the things that bring women into comics and comic collecting in this world, and it's horrible to see something that was so seminal in that's be tarnished in any way. But now there's at least options for that world to continue in a way that people can still find it and connect and relate to it. My friend JP, who did lots of indie shows with Jenn, did a whole series discussing Joelle Jones's phenomenal Lady Killer series.
It's beautiful too.
Just a great book, and there's 2 phenomenal volumes of it, and I want to say there's a 3rd on the way. But anything Joelle Jones does is worth your time. But there's something wonderful about a Mad Men era housewife who's also a killer assassin that's just worth your time and your money. So I wanted to mention that one. And let's see, I've got all of the Marvels as well from my friend Chris over at Chaos and Comics. He said that they discussed this novel and some of the history behind comic books and characters, and that they had a lot of discussions, but behind the scenes, the 2 of them just talking about the creators, the Jack Kirbys of the world that really had an influence on this industry and on them, all the way up to now. Those creators that we've mentioned, these indie creators and the works they've been doing. I think. Oh, one more. My friend X11 Bravo says he can't see this cover without thinking of Jenn, not the book interior, but this amazing Carla Cohen cover for Batman 108. He's like, I own it, but I can't necessarily look at it easily anymore.
There's another comic cover. I'll have to throw it up on Instagram after the show. It's an indie comic. Can't even think of the name of it. Don't even know the publisher. That's how indie it is. I bought this book like 4 years ago strictly because it looked like Jennifer. And Jennifer didn't even know about the book. And I was like, Jenn, you're on a book. Somebody out there has a big old crush on you and drew you on the cover of a book. So when I throw that book on Instagram, y'all have to look because it is Jennifer to a T. It's insane.
I love it. That's right. And then there's Chaos in the chat. And I appreciate you coming by, Chris. And there's so many great comments in the chat. I'm sorry that I didn't get to all of them, but I appreciate you all hanging and taking the time to share this grief and joy of this amazing person. So Mars, what is it you wanted to? Are you okay? You ready?
Yeah, no, I feel like I have to, because like Brian said, I feel like it's part of the grieving process. Like, see if I'm going to be able to say the words. So Jennifer was probably the best part of my life. We found each other 6-7 years ago because we just found cool girls on Instagram, and it was kind of like what Carrie said, where it's like I knew I wanted this girl to be my friend, and we would comment on people's posts from afar, or on each other's posts from afar, being like, "Girl, you so cute! Like, look at you! Like, I love you! Like, what you reading?" And it's like the whole time I'm like, I want her to be my friend, but I'm too scared to talk to her because, like I said, like we've established, I'm standoffish. It's fine. But she forced her way into my life and was like, no, we're going to be friends. And it was our love of comics. And we started doing a show together, and the show spiraled into a friendship that I feel like I was looking for my entire life. There's not a second that goes by where I don't think of her. I know we talked about it before, because you don't really understand how involved people's lives are behind a screen. We would text each other constantly. It was the first person I talked to when I woke up, and the last person I talked to before I went to bed. Constant FaceTimes, just, hey, what you doing? You wanna chat for 15 minutes and just talk? I'm struggling right now because I can't read comics, because I can't message her and talk to her about what I'm reading. And I feel her loss through this entire community, and I think of everybody else that is feeling it. And I'm also so grateful for all the people that have come here today and talked about her, because hearing how she touched lives in the same way that she touched mine, I feel so grateful to have just been in her presence for a couple years, even though I wish it was for a lifetime. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Jennifer. I love her very much. I hate her for leaving me. Yeah, she was the best part of it. I love her. But I'll always love her. Yeah, that's it. I just wanted to be able, because I feel like I I posted about her after her passing, but I feel like I've been very trying to keep strong for the community because I know that's what she would do if the roles were reversed and, you know, she was the remaining half of the Casually Comics duo. But it just feels good to talk about her and to remember her the best way that we all could. And I'm here like clutching my copy of Bolero because listen, I would jump through 69 universes to find her again. But
I think all of us, to your point of like not feeling ready to read,
it sucks, man. How the hell am I supposed to be that comic girl if I don't read comics?
I feel like there's books like I on my trip. She told me when I said I hadn't read Love and Rockets, she got me to buy the Maggie the Mechanic volume for Love and Rockets, and I haven't been able to start it because I don't know. It's like the last recommendation, and I don't want to. I don't want to read it.
Like, who's going to send surprise packages to my door with books that she read and then just sent to me because she thought I would love them too? Because she was known for doing. Okay, John.
I got your address now. You unless you move, you're screwed.
She was known for doing that, and I posted about it, and I think it's very ironic that the last book she ever sent me was "Don't Leave Without Me," which I've yet to read. It's by Valerie Rose O'Connell, who did the artwork for Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me. But it's just like, damn, a book called Don't Go Without Me. Just like, okay, cool.
Not cool. No, not cool. That's not cool. Okay. That was not cool.
But she was a special lady, and she increased my love for comics and just this community. And like I said, I'm so thankful for all the friends I have now, being able to meet people like you, John, and Brian, and Sheena, and Carrie, and Greg. And like, I wouldn't have come out of my shell without her because like she was my light, you know? She really was.
She was a connecting force. I think that's the sign that I'm taking away from all of these discussions
and now it's up to all of us to become those connected for each other and for others. Like that's she taught us a thing. I know it's a burden.
Yeah.
Too much work.
No, it's well said, Jamie. It's exactly it. If that's the takeaway, then this is a huge success. And to, what the deuce is in the chat, and I think he said something earlier about having never met Jenn, but he's been dropping great pearls about this process for all of us and how appreciative he is to hear these kinds of stories and how grateful we can be in celebrating this person who had such a strong positive impact on all of us. And I wanted, before, I know Brian's got something he wants to mention at the end as well, and I wanted to just mention Books with Pictures is a phenomenal shop. Katie's a phenomenal owner. You can go to their website and you can order comics for yourself. You can order them for friends. Some of these books that you're looking to hear about and read, she will make sure you can get. And so I want that resource of Jenn's LCS to be something that we all kind of think of when we're like, oh, I want that book. How do I get that book?
Yeah, because there was no shop in this world that she loved more than Books with Pictures. And with good reason.
Brian, what was I cut you off earlier. I want to make sure I come back around.
That was the perfect transition, actually. So definitely support Books with Pictures and your local comic shop anywhere you can. If anyone's been paying attention to the business side of things, it's been a rough couple months for retailers, especially ones that were really dependent on Diamond Comics distributors.
Yep.
So they could really use your love and, more importantly, your dollars right now. Katie Pride of Books with Pictures, huge source of support, someone who Jennifer knew and loved very well. So, in talking about community here and opportunities to keep this all going, we are going to be doing a in-person, actual physical memorial for Jennifer. It's going to be, so she passed 3 weeks before Christmas, and she has people all over the country. And we're just like, there's no way we can ask people to travel to Portland a week before Christmas when the weather is awful and, travel is going to be terrible and expensive. So we're like, okay, we're going to punt. We're going to kick this to the spring when hopefully it's a little bit nicer. Katie has already agreed enthusiastically to host the memorial at the store. She's got a beautiful garden and patio out there that will be able to accommodate as many people as want to show up. So please, like everyone listening to this, if you're not already in Portland, and if you're able to, please start considering putting a little bit of money aside right now, and coming out and joining us in the spring. We're planning on not just having it be a memorial, but we're going to be programming a weekend of Jennifer. So we're going to take folks around to all the places that Jennifer loved and all the things she loved doing. So there's going to be steak and cake at the Acropolis. There's going to be tour of the comics shops. There's going to be reading in Laurelhurst Park. There's going to be all sorts of stuff going on. And, you know,
sounds like at least one trip to the strip club.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You do the strip club if you get out here. It's fine. Yeah.
And we're just, you know, it's really about, you know, boy, we want to see as many of you as possible. Because you're absolutely right, John. The shared grief is lessened. And we want to do it up and celebrate this girl.
Mm-hmm. I love that. When you have an official date,
yes,
we'll start spamming so people can start looking at flights and accommodations and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'll have the date nailed down before the middle of February. I have access to Jennifer's Instagram, so we'll be pushing messaging out there. Anyone who contributed to the GoFundMe will be getting messages there. So, and y'all, thank you for circulating that. We'll make sure everyone's aware of it, and we'll get folks a place they can sign up and get updates about, you know, what the adventure is going to look like. So
that's perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much for spearheading that and for being that source of information for all of these things.
Absolutely.
Any last thoughts? I don't want to cut anybody off, but I think I want to give people back there. I want to give people a chance to dry some eyes.
Support your local comic shop. That's all I can say.
Yep.
Read a comic, support your local comic. Give a friend a comic, even if they don't read comics, because that was Jennifer's favorite thing to do, was to indoctrinate other people into the world of comics. And just love one another and take care of each other and know that we're all in this together. It's a community.
Yeah,
you know,
make comics, make art,
make
heavy metal, make everything. That's another thing that she really she sent that to us. She was more than a muse. She was a push. Yeah. She was like, I want you to finish that album.
Yeah, muses are more delicate.
Yeah.
And be gay and do crime. That's
be gay and do crime.
That's my big takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, when we were when we were, you know, a couple months away from the end, and it was pretty obvious where things were going. You know, we asked Jennifer, "So, what do you want to do?" And she's like, "I want to experience as much joy as I possibly can." And so, the mission is joy became a motto.
Cool.
And so, the mission is joy.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh, that's a perfect way to end. Yes. Thank you, Brian. And thank you, everybody who joined. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you for everyone who's bookmarked bookswithpictures.com on their computer so that when they're looking for books, they know exactly where to go. Appreciate all of you in a huge way. And this doesn't really end. This is ongoing. As you heard these guys say, you know, we're taking our part and we're carrying our ownership of what we want to represent for Jennifer going forward. So very grateful for all of you being part of that and helping us carry that burden, because it'll be lighter for your work. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you all again soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks.
Thanks.
Love you guys.
Take care.
Yes.
Wow.